Good afternoon and welcome back to Primal. Hope you're having a great day. Today I've decided to bring you one of my own concept called the power triangle. Discussing this with a close friend of mine yesterday, and he suggested doing a blog for you as he found it very informative and something he would use in his own life. The power triangle itself, or the concept of the power triangle, is one that should improve your overall well-being, and it's a foundational choice of how you live your life from day to day to give you optimum performance, optimum well-being in business, in health and well-being and so on. So what I need to do first of all is I'm going to explain my own power triangle, and then I'm going to draw one out to show how these can differ so you may be able to use the concept for yourself. To start with, what we have is we have the main triangle or pyramid form. You'll see pyramid structures quite a lot in health concepts. I'm not quite sure why that is, but they seem to come in really useful. And I think it's to show that the most important elements are the foundation, which are at the bottom, and the upper elements should be the things that are either have a foundation from the ones below and therefore are supported by the elements below, or are like the cherry on top. So first off, what we'll do is we'll discuss my own 5 elements for my power triangle. Now I choose to have 5 elements because that's what I've come to believe is optimum for my own performance. However, you could probably have only 3, and I would say maybe up as much as 7 or 8, although I would say don't take it too far because then you lose the whole aspect of the importance of those elements in your own power triangle. So for me, my foundational element of my 5 is food and nutrition. Now the reason this is here for me is because if I maintain good food, diet, nutrition choices, then this supports everything else I do. This supports my exercise and movement. This supports my sleep, because if I'm actually not eating right, it can disturb my sleep. It will affect my ability to meditate, because without good nutrition my mind may become cloudy. I may find it harder to meditate and calm my system. And also, because food can affect moods and so on, it also is a foundation for all my relationships, family relationships, personal relationships and so on. So what I tend to find with most people is that food and nutrition and exercise and movement tend to be the 2 foundational elements, so 5 and 4. This can vary, and for some people it may be that movement's more important. So for instance, if they don't train, they may find that they make worse food choices, and therefore you would maybe flip these 2 round. In my general experience, nutrition is the foundation for most things. So most of you, if being honest with yourself, will find that nutrition will be your base day-to-day foundation element. Now, when we change for present situation exceptions for the power triangle, which we'll discuss later, that may change, but generally it doesn't. So as you can see here, my foundational element is food, then exercise, because my food choices mean I'll train better, I get better gains, and I will generally avoid injury better. For me, I then find sleep is my next one. I don't do well with lack of sleep. I don't do well with poor sleep patterns. I don't do well with not having a routine. And what will happen is if I'm not sleeping well, it will affect other aspects of my health and other aspects of my day-to-day successes and ability. So for instance, if I'm going to work, I need to be able to think clearly. Lack of sleep, I won't be able to do that. So as you can see, sleep is within my foundational primary power triangle. Then I have Tai Chi and meditation. For me, that's pretty key. I do that every Saturday, throughout the week as well if I need to, and from moment to moment, but generally every Saturday at the end of my week where I'm very busy. Saturday morning I do an hour and a half of Tai Chi and meditation, which calms me down to allow me to enjoy my weekend, bring me things like this blog, and just generally keep my head clear and free of cloudy thoughts. And then above that I have relationships. Now some people may often say, why are you putting relationships, family and so on so high up? For me that's the cherry on top, because what I found for myself is that in the past I may have, say, forced a relationship or forced aspects of relationships with family and friends and associates and so on, And maybe the reason for that was I wasn't clear enough in my mind, or I wasn't eating properly. So I may have thought that relationships would have been lower down in my triangle, so more important than Tai Chi, for instance. However, for me, and this is where it becomes personal, if I'm keeping my mind clear, my ability to converse and communicate with family members and friends and so on is better. Therefore, Tai Chi would become, or would be placed as a foundation for my relationships. So I hope this is starting to become clear and make sense. And likewise, there's no point in meditating if I'm not eating right, because I may find it hard to meditate. So you can see what this power triangle is an order of importance for optimal vitality, for optimal well-being, and for optimal performance. So these can vary. You may find for someone else that actually sleep would be more important for them than exercise, and they may get away with they may not get away at all with any change in sleep pattern. However, for someone else, it may be that sleep's actually higher up, and for them, relationships is more important, because they may find that if their relationships aren't going well, then they sleep really, really badly. So they have to make sure they're working on their relationships all the time. It's personal, and this is what, if I go back to it, my primary power triangle. Now, what I mean by that is this is what I need to always revert back to if I feel I'm not performing well, if I'm not getting the outcome I want. Something within this probably isn't right. So I may have to look back to it and go, right, let's start eating properly, let's start exercising regularly, let's start making sure I get to sleep on time, and so on and so on. If I do that, I normally find that the other aspects in my life come together. So you can muck around with this, you can see what balance works for you, and you'll almost certainly see a change in how comfortable you feel, how relaxed you feel, how good your health and lifestyle goes. Now, you'll see here on the outside, I've got these little bubbles, and what I have on the outside are other aspects within my life or within lifestyle that may be relevant to my pyramid, i.e. at times, for instance, trying to make money. If you've got bills coming in, people might say, well, money is really important. For me, it's not in my primary, because I believe that if I take care of this, then I won't have to worry so much about the other things. And as you can see here around the top, we've got well-being, which encompasses it all. Now, to give you an idea, you get a load of bills in, so all of a sudden money becomes a priority. Now, what you can do is you can use a power triangle for the present moment. So if for a week, let's say you have as I said, bills come in, or a deadline, a business deadline, you may have to shift away from your primary power triangle to be as effective as you can be for that week. So it may mean to hit that deadline that sleep has to shift right up, or even you have to go into poor sleep patterns, which I wouldn't suggest, but it may be the case that you have to do that. So what you can then do is you can shift things in and out. So here I have written on the outside, work, charity, money, business challenges, film, I like going to see films, so it's part of my overall well-being. Reboots, for that I mean my reboot breaks, I might go away and have 2 or 3 days off. I don't need it all the time, but if I come to the moment of needing it, that needs to shift in to my power triangle, because it will get me back to optimal well-being and this power triangle. Study and knowledge, music, competition. I thrive on challenges and competition, so if I'm lacking that, I may need to go and find a challenge or competition. Yoga, vacations. Now, what I'll do is I'll flip this over and I'll show you how this may change. So remember what we've got here. We've got nutrition, we've got exercise, we've got sleep, we've got meditation, and we've got relationships. So if I flick that over, that triangle could change. So if I create a new triangle, let's say I want to hit some business deadlines I set for myself, and I want to create more money because I've got courses to do or bills coming in or things to do with my company. So what I'll do is I may have the same 2 base, because if you remember I said for me, nutrition and food and exercise are always a fundamental to my well-being. So nutrition, so if you can't read that, that's nutrition, and exercise. Now, if we remember, usually I would then have sleep, meditation, and relationships. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to sacrifice relationships, not in a bad way, not in a way of just get rid of everyone, but in a way of, for that moment in time, I may have to be almost selfish to be selfless. It's a bit of a weird concept. But it's to allow myself to go back into that state where hopefully people want to be around me and I'm friendly and I'm happy and so on, and getting that stresses out. So let's say I've gotten rid of relationships, so they're not there, I've freed up a space. Let's say I'm going to allow myself to be a bit lax with my sleep for a week, as long as it doesn't affect my output too much, so I lose sleep. So what I might do is I might say, right, I'm trying to improve business, so I'm going to put Tai Chi or meditation, Qigong, there, because if I'm trying to get a result or think of a way to do something, it's often best not to think about it, it's best to clear your mind. So I'll meditate to create space to have the answer come to me. Then what I might do is I might have business challenges move into here from the outside. If you remember, we had business challenges, so they're moving in and sleep is going out. So here, sleep will end up out here and business challenges there. So that's the deadline, that's outcomes, what you want to get from your business. And I may move the top to, let's say, money, because my focus may be to make money if we're talking performance and hitting deadlines and paying for courses and so on. So again, we've had relationships move out and money move in. Now I want to stress this is not saying that money is more important than relationships. It's not saying that at all. It's saying in that present moment, in that moment in time, in that 2 days or week, if we can converse clearly enough and say to someone, look, I need to delay something I was going to do with you, say go out to see a film or go out for a meal or whatever, because I've got these deadlines to hit. I'm not going to do it all the time, I just need to do it this one time. And that creates a new power triangle for that week, and that will allow you to focus on getting the results you need. What we can also do is then revert back. So once you've hit that deadline, as quick as possible, you want to get back to your primary power triangle. So what I'll do is I'll move sleep back in to where Tai Chi is. Tai Chi will slant upwards, and then relationships will go back in where money was. Now I've hopefully made some money. I've removed the deadlines or the business challenges I had, which will mean I'm happier, I'm more content, I'm more stress-free. I've moved the Tai Chi up, I'm back sleeping better. And so in allowing me that little change in my power triangle to be focused, I'm now quickly able to move back to my optimal health and my optimal vitality and well-being power triangle, which, as we said at the start, is here. This is my primary triangle. So I'm always moving in and out of that triangle. If you move out for too long, you have to be honest with yourself that you're not being productive, or you're being mood swingy, or you're not sleeping well, or you're not digesting food properly. If that's happening, you've probably moved away from your power triangle and you want to get back to it as soon as possible. Now remember, if for instance you don't know enough about food and nutrition and exercise and movement, maybe you need to hire someone for a short period of time, which would mean that, let's say, study and knowledge would move in to allow, and that might mean if you had money in your power triangle, that may move out because you've got to spend money to get that knowledge. As you can see, it's very flexible. I haven't put certain things here, certain topics here in the edge, which you may find are important to you. That's the beauty of this. Make your own personal power triangle. Play around with it. Find out exactly what works for you. This probably took me a good couple of months to figure out. Now, bear in mind, I'm already on a pretty decent lifestyle regime and choices. So I always knew that food and nutrition and exercise would be at the base, my foundation. So what I would say to you is try and find your primary power triangle. See how that works for you. If something's not working, try shifting them. If you're not getting to bed early enough and you've got sleep up here, try and move it lower down. Try and spend more time going to sleep earlier and see if that changes your well-being, your feeling of well-being, your performance and productivity and so on. This could be forever changing as well. So as much as this is currently my primary power triangle, it may shift. So, you know, if it comes to the point where I've got children, then I may find that, for instance, if they're not sleeping well, that sleep might shift up a little bit for my relationships with my children. I may want to spend more time with a newborn or my child to allow for a better forming of a relationship. However, as I say, you've always got to assess. If that meant I became grumpy and the time I was spending with my child was poor quality time, then I may have to revert back to this. You can always try, you can always adapt, and you can always see what works for you. That's the beauty of this. So I suggest to you, if you can, try and figure out what your power triangle is. If you don't currently do meditation Tai Chi, have that on the outside. Maybe try and bring that in, do some classes in aspects that you're not aware of, maybe yoga or Pilates or stretching, and see how that works, although technically stretching might come into exercise and movement. And yeah, have a go with it, have a play around with it. Know that it's not something you can just suddenly know what yours is going to be, because you need to play around with the outcomes of shifting focus and importance of the different areas and different topics. I hope that was quite clear. I hope that works for you, and I hope you find it quite interesting to play around with. So when you hit those aspects in the present moment, if you're having a few dodgy, should we say, conversations with family members, maybe try and shift away from a primary into a more focused present moment triangle, where you may put relationships a bit further down. You may want to spend a bit more time with relationships and shift exercise up a little bit, and maybe have a few less workouts so we can spend more time with the family. Have a look, have a go. I hope you enjoy, and I hope that's quite useful. Take care, be primal, and live by your power triangle. Take care.